Hello and welcome to another Coffee Conversations and Q&A.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you here. I'm ready to drink some coffee, but the coffee's not ready. So,
the frother's going.
Okay.
Yes.
So he's going to make fresh
Yes.
froth from
Yes.
the top of the coffee.
With some drops of stevia. So we have enough for both of us. So you at least need 8 drops. If you want it sweeter, 10.
And how many tablespoons of half and half are you putting in there?
How much do we usually use for
I normally get like 2
macros?
tablespoons.
So I say 4 total.
All right. So it's,
There
I
you
don't know
go.
if you can hear it, but it's over here blending away. And we're doing cold foam
Yes.
for this
you
one.
could do hot. Usually if I have hot coffee, I use.
And I'm always
Yes.
cold foam. So,
Yes.
because I put it on top of my cold brew. So anyways, while that is going, we will wait on sipping on the coffee and we'll just have some conversations.
You got it.
Alrighty.
I'm glad to be home.
He was gone a long time.
A week. Yes.
It was more than a week. Yeah.
8,
it was gone
9
a
days.
long time.
Yes.
And the
I
reason,
went early.
And nowadays, I mean, if you're flying to get somewhere,
Yes.
you gotta,
No, I do it a couple times.
okay, so that's one time. So that's the trick. The trick is to get it extra frothy.
I do it at least
You
3
got to
times.
cycle through it a few times, and then
Yes.
he'll show you what it looks like in a second too.
Because the foam stays. It doesn't dissipate and lower itself.
Right. So
Yes.
back to what we were saying is that nowadays with flights, I mean, you never know if your flight is going to get there when you want it to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when you're running an event or putting on an event or speaking at an event, you got to
Yes.
sometimes, you don't want to miss it. So
No.
we had him go a little early. He was also
Yes.
able to get some extra
Stay with a friend.
some extra work and things done
Yes,
while he
yes.
was gone. Lots of content that'll be coming
Yes.
at you guys here very soon.
On the way.
So that was definitely though it was longer than usual.
Yes.
And
Nice weather.
it's not
Florida.
we're
Summertime, so
yeah.
it was okay.
I mean that's one thing when we lived in Florida.
Hmm.
This time of year is the perfect time for
Yes.
Florida. I mean it's already 80 degrees there, so. When it starts getting towards summer, that's when it's like, okay, planning your exit to go somewhere else.
Yes.
But during January, February, March, and even into April, when it's chilly other places, it's a nice place. It's a nice place to go. So
Yes, it is.
if you live in Florida or you like to go to Florida, let us know your favorite time that you like
year,
of
yes.
year that you like to do, and what do you do when you go? And he was out doing his outdoor cardio and outdoor walks, and
Yes.
getting that in. It was
Drinking my water.
And
in
he-
the morning.
yeah, because when you have an event, you gotta time the bathroom breaks. But
Yes, you do.
around here, I was showing him, it's nice and cold and snowy and icy and rainy
Yes.
and windy, and he was like, "Oh, look, I'm
I
in a
got cold.
t-shirt."
Yeah, but I got cold too because I had a t-shirt on and it rained throughout the whole day. In the evening, it was breezy. So I went for my walk and with a t-shirt and I was cold. So I went back in. And then I FaceTimed these guys and I complained when it was 20 degrees here. So
I guess
they're
it's
laughing at me.
It's all perspective, right? If you're somewhere and it's 80 and it gets down to 58, it gets a little chilly. But if you're
Yeah.
somewhere and it's 20 and
Yes.
it's getting down to less of that, it's all perspective, and it's where you're from and where you're at. Oh,
This
is
is
it
the
ready?
frother.
Okay.
So there's different buttons if you want hot, cold, different types of froth.
He calls it froth. I
Froth.
call it foam.
Foam,
Call it
frother.
what you want. But if
Ladies
you look,
first.
okay. Now this
Oh,
is.
so let's do this first. I brought a spoon.
Ooh, look at it. Just pour it on in. Just go ahead.
All right.
And this, oh, look, it's fresh. Now, I will tell you, I like to drink the foam right away because as it sits for a while, when it's half and half, if it sits for a while, it starts getting those little air bubbles in it and it starts to deflate after probably a good 5 or 10 minutes.
Yes.
And then,
I made a little mess.
oh yeah, I see the mess. Do we have a tissue?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. We got tissues on the set. Okay,
Yes.
got to clean up our messes. Okay, so if you can see, it's all nice and foamy and creamy, and you got to drink it now. So hold on, let me get a sip. Yummy. Okay, so after a while though, it starts getting those little air bubbles. So you want to drink it now, and then the rest will start going into the coffee itself. Oh.
It's her favorite.
And see, I drink it with the lid off, and then once the foam has dissipated and gone down, then I'll put the lid on. Until then, Alrighty. Oh, cheers. Cheers. So, coffee, check. Conversation, we'll finish that up, and then we have a lot of good questions. I put a Q&A box up yesterday, and we had some good questions come in, so we're going to answer those here in just a few minutes. And we're doing these coffee conversations and Q&As weekly, so we're coming live on here. It's something that we decided this year
we were
going to start doing more live basis on a weekly basis. So we've got it on the schedule. So we will be putting that question box up on a weekly basis. If you do have questions that come to you though throughout the week, go ahead and just shoot us an email, DM, leave it in a comment. We'll add them as we can on here. And so we just want to this year we decided we wanted to give more value, right? We know a lot of people enjoy putting on events. Some people want to have events. Some people like to speak. They're coaches, they're consultants, they're entrepreneurs.
Ready for the next level.
And you're wanting to take your business to the next level, or you're wanting to have more events, or you're wanting to get out and start speaking more, or all of these things. And there's a lot of challenges and hurdles and obstacles that come up and get in the way. And a lot of times, it's that fear element, right? That thing that pops up and it's like,
definitely without the experience.
I don't know what I don't know, so what am I going to do? Nothing, right? Well, if you do nothing, you're going to get nothing, right?
Correct.
And so we're here. We want to help you guys continue building those pieces, stacking them, and just help
be
you out.
here to help.
And we don't, like I was saying yesterday, we don't just talk about event stuff. We have families. We're married. We have children. We have we're coming up on 13 years.
I know.
That's coming up in 2 months, because we're already in February. So that's coming up quickly. What are we gonna call it? It's not. 13 isn't always the lucky number, but we'll go with that.
We'll figure out a good number.
So anyways, that's coming up. Yeah. But we have, a lot of information. We're like, what? Let's no longer just keep this to ourselves or give it to our clients or only help out at the events that we're working at. There is more than enough for everyone, right? And so we want to live in an abundance and give and, really create those collaborations and those conversations. I mean, a lot of times on social media, it's like you see a lot of things going on, but
it's already happening. It's already happening. You don't know anything before it.
Right. And there's a lot of community that isn't there, right? It used to be you'd get together, at events. That's a great place to network or to build, friendship. We have friendships from people from, years and years, almost, we're coming up on almost 20 years.
And that's where I went. Of a friend of ours. Yeah.
So almost 20 years.
Tammy and Tim,
Thank you guys. That we've known some people from events, right? And you build, and not everybody are you going to build a long time, term relationship with. Some people are there for a season, and some people are there for a chapter or a certain amount. And some of them it's just, and you don't have to talk to people all the time either. No. But with social media, it's like you see what's going on, but are you really building relationships? Are you really building community? Are you really? And a lot of times it's not, right? Nope. You're kind of like on the outside looking in, like your screen is almost a window into seeing all of this stuff, but you're on the outside. You're not a part of that. And we want you guys to be a part of what we're doing. And we want to, hear from you. And we love to connect. So that's really the purpose behind us coming on here and doing these lives with you guys, is more of that connection, communication, and community.
Give a kiss right there.
Right there? Okay.
Yes.
Valentine's Day is coming up. So
and I've been gone.
So he needs
extra. They picked me up yesterday. Yes. Yeah.
So, all right, let's jump into these conversations. Questions. Yeah. And if you think of something while we're talking about this and you want to interject, feel free.
Go for it.
We're always going through the comments and replying back. Or if you have an idea or something as well, let us know. So first question is, what's a good time to start and end an event?
Not midnight.
What,
unless it's a party.
To start it or end it?
End it. Unless it's a party.
Unless it's like New Year's Eve.
Party of some sort.
There are actually
and entertainment. You're okay. Later.
There are some events that do go that late. The
Tony Robbins
premise behind that, right? Yeah. I mean, Tony, his events go that, and yet the reason is because they are fully submerged in the environment. He's not wanting people to go and. If you're coming to his event, you're there, you're fully submerged, you're going on, and you have a few hours to rest, but then you're back in, right? And that's something to think about when you're having an event, especially if you're having like what we call a fly-in event, where people are coming from all different areas to this location for your event. They're there for you. So if you just to have an event that's a couple hours, a day, it's kind of like, okay, they're there for you. So
Right. Don't be doing something else.
right.
They're
So
there
I
just for
think
you.
I think good time to start is 9 o'clock in the morning. That's
Yes.
a good time to start. Now, if it's more of a business event, accountants, doctors, lawyers, people
And
like
it's going
that,
to be a busy day.
starting at
Yes.
8 is perfectly okay for those types of events because they're used to that 8 o'clock. They're
Yes.
normally
Their
at
start
work
time.
or they're normally there. And then with those though, they normally get done a little earlier, right? Because that's their usual schedule that they're used to
Yes.
working with. So, but most events, 9 o'clock is a
o'clock
good
for sure.
start time.
Yes.
If you're, if it's more of like a professional type event,
Yeah, a little earlier is okay.
then 8 or so is good. The other thing to
Not
think about.
earlier.
You on your first day, you're going to have registration. So registration needs to start before that, unless you do it the night before. And if you do it the
Right.
night before, meeting, mingling, networking, cocktail hours, things like that are great to
Yes.
do the evening before if you're going to do registration then instead of doing it all in the morning. Especially if your event is starting early
Right.
in the
early.
morning,
Yes.
because if it starts at 8, what time you have to start registration, right? So that's something to think
And
about.
registration at 7. 7:30 is a good time because it's going to take a while in the morning for people to come in, get situated.
Yep.
Sometimes there's breakfast. My
can.
last event, there was breakfast. So you come in and have breakfast and come early. Sometimes they'll let you in to get a seat. We recommend not because you want that excitement. You want the build up to your event.
Yeah. The best thing is if you are going to have a registration and then maybe you're having morning breakfast, continental breakfast, a little coffee, tea,
Yep.
muffins, things like that, then having that in the morning is good. Having that before the event is starting is great because then people are getting there and they're not bringing their food in to start they've already had that
already had their
mingling
food.
time, the networking
Yep.
time, the food time, and now they're ready to sit down and start absorbing, taking
Yes.
notes. They're ready to get going on that. So, 7, 8 o'clock for registration is okay. Starting your event or 8 or 9, depending on the event, that's fine. Now, if you're having an evening event, maybe it's not a full day, maybe it's just an evening, or you're starting a half day to then go into a couple day event, then
I mean, it varies.
that really varies. It depends
varies.
on what are you giving them food? Because if you're going to start an event at, let's say, 5, right?
You should have food.
And it just started, so maybe you're going to go 5 to 9. Okay, that's
Yes.
fine for your first night. Then maybe it's a dinner, or maybe you have you let them know or you started at 6. So maybe they could get something to eat beforehand,
Right.
and then it's just going to be some hors d'oeuvres or something like that. The evening of with some cocktails or not, right?
Right.
So you've got to kind of know your audience. You've got to know your event. When are you starting it? And then what are you providing? If your budget doesn't have a room for a lot of food and beverage, you need to know that too.
Right. So you can have your event a little later, like at 7:30, to go right into cocktails.
Yeah.
Cocktail hour. And that's the meet and greet, and that's for everybody to talk and you can be finished by 9:30.
Yeah. I wouldn't start an event any later than 7, just because, even if you did 7 to 10, that's 3 hours. If you did 7 to 9, that's 2 hours. If someone's coming now, if you make it because you're doing registration that time too, you've got to back these things up. So it all
Need time for
depends,
that.
and that's why we sit down and we discuss what is your event? What are you doing? How many days is it? Are those jam-packed days? Or are we just saying we want a 3-day event and we're just kind of sprawling
Right.
it out there and it's not really have that much content in it? If you can condense your event down into a solid day and a half, do it, right?
Right.
If you need a full 2 days, okay. If you can get your event done in half a day, great. Know that and then decide, okay, if I'm having a half-day event, do I want it to be a morning to afternoon? Do I want it to be afternoon to evening? Where do you want those and what are you going to have in that to be able to do it? And then as far as an ending time,
Well, first, don't have your registration very close to when you're going to start your event. Because people are going to be coming in for your event and half the people aren't going to be there. And then you're ready to start your event and you have a half filled room. So give yourself at least 2 hours.
and I mean,
2 hours.
If you have a 50 to 100 person event, registration is much different than if you have a 500 to 1,000 person event.
It takes a long time to get registered.
It takes a long time to get all those people registered. You have to have ample people doing the registration.
Yes.
You need it divided maybe into, alphabet, like this name, this letter to this letter, this letter to that, so that you can have it. You need a VIP section. Like those are all the things that you need so it flows, right?
Especially when you have them filling out forms.
Yeah, if you have them filling out forms, questionnaires, if they're getting, like a welcome gift or something like that, all of those things
takes
take time. And so you've got to think about that.
No less than 2 hours.
Right. And then and that's why I sometimes like the evening before, where it's registration and mingling, registration and cocktails, registration and something else. So that way you're not having to put that full rush on. Plus, people are showing up the day before and they're not really missing any content or information at the event. And then everyone's ready to walk in the next morning for the event ready to go.
Yes.
So that's something to think about. And then as far as ending the event,
6, 7 is a great
6,
time.
7 is good. Now, if you had maybe you're wanting to do long days, right? Sometimes you are, and you say, okay, we're going to do a dinner, and then we're going to come back after the dinner for some sort of evening session. The challenge with doing that,
Nobody wants to come back after
no one
you
wants
eat.
to come back, right?
So
it's better to push it off and make your time go a little bit later. Let's say take it to 7 and let people have dinner after, instead of saying, let's take a break at 5 for dinner and let's come back at 7. Let's do a 7 to 9 session, right?
We've done that before, and
you have a major drop off
everybody.
because people are they've had dinner, they've had drinks,
they have family,
they're wanting to
they
talk,
want to go home.
All these different things are coming up, and so they're not coming back. So push off your end time to a little bit later, and not take that dinner break in there, so that way you don't have to have people come back.
Yes.
So that's a big one. Okay, next one. Are 2 screens better than 1?
Yes, 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 yes.
What do we always say? More is better.
Yes,
right?
even 3 is great. Long as it's rear projection.
Yeah.
Don't ever think about, we could do front projection because there's no room in the back. So let's do front projection on the sides, and then you're thinking you could do rear in the back. If you can do rear in the back, you're going to need a super short lens that shoots up like this. And I don't like those because you can't focus them. And if you really want that 3rd screen, you can do it that way. Just make sure it's images and no small fonts or something you need to read, because it's very noticeable that it's blurry. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, definitely
Rear
when it comes to
projection.
screens, more is better when it comes to screens, but also even more important than how many screens, it's what are you projecting onto the screens?
Yes.
What are the lumens of the projectors? You want more is better on that too.
Yes.
You want brighter. You want people to be able to see, like what you're saying.
7,500 lumens
to
to
10,000.
10,000.
I mean, some of these events,
I'm never under 10.
you can't see what's on there because the lighting in the room is so bright,
Yes.
it washes out the screen, right?
It does.
So when you're testing in a darker place, it's like, oh, well, this looks good in here.
Yeah, at home or in your office
or in your
is
warehouse or something
dim.
like that.
And then you're like, this
is
3,500 is great.
Yeah, until you get it.
Until you get into something lit up
Yeah.
like this, you're not going to see it.
Right. So 2 or 3 screens, great. And projectors that are, 7,500 to 10,000 lumens, perfect.
Yes.
And
Unless you're
and rear
50
projection.
50 people, 75 people, you might be able to get away with 5,000 lumens,
But still 2 screens.
2 screens.
And the reason is because
So they'll help you cost.
Yeah. If someone's sitting on this side of the room and the screen is here, and someone else is sitting on this side of the room and there's no screen here, they're then
Yes.
looking over here, and it's like this whole body, they change their body, and then everyone's going to try to rush and sit. If you notice, if you've ever watched, if you
People
have a
run
room,
in. They open up the doors.
Yep, with one screen, they all run to why? Because they
That
want to be
side.
able to see. They want to be able to look up and see what's on the screen, not tilt, turn, crank their neck.
People used to do it all the time. One screen.
Mm-hmm.
And then they attempt to put the screen in the center.
Yeah. Oh.
With front projection,
Oh.
that's when you have the puppet shows.
That's when the speaker is
That's when
constantly-
speakers crossing in front and they don't realize.
No.
No,
No.
no. I'm calling Cheryl. You won't believe it.
Oh, the amount of times that we look at a lot of events, and so it's like, okay,
No. Oh, E.
And then sometimes we're like,
It's like we're watching a movie or something, like a scary movie. We're like,
and then we're like, oh, we need to make a video about that. Or, oh,
yes.
Apparently, people don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And, we've been doing this a while, and it's like, that's a no-no.
No.
Or
don't cross in front. Don't have it in the middle.
No.
Unless it's further back and you have front projection, and you can go around it if you have to, ignore that area.
Or pick a better space
Yes.
for your venue that doesn't have all that stuff, right?
Yes.
I always say, all challenges down the road led from where you decided to hold your event and the room and the event space that you chose,
Yes.
right? If you would have chosen better, and I had a video that went out yesterday, like book early, book better, right? It's because the earlier you book your event, the more choices you have. You have to know what you're looking for, obviously, but a lot of these things, pillars in the middle of the room, ceilings that are really short, chandeliers that are hanging down too long,
Oh, yeah.
all of these kinds of things, awkward things going on in the space, and it's like, well, this is all we can do with this space. Well, then you should have picked a different space.
You don't want to walk into a space, and as soon as you walk in, there's a giant pillar.
We've had those.
You can't move those.
They're there for support to keep the ceiling up. But guess what?
I've attempted.
When you have, so here's the pillar, and then you have all these people, and normally there's more than one pillar. If there's a pillar, there's another pillar in 10
and
feet,
another one.
and another one. And so here it is, and then you got all these people that are sitting behind the pillar. Can they see you? Well, no, because this pillar's in
Are
their
they going to
face.
buy from you?
No. Because it's like, what kind of janky stuff is this?
Yeah, it's just like chandeliers.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't think.
They hang down.
They thinking they're going to
beautiful.
have parties or something where they're not going to have a stage or somebody speaking. They're only thinking about
Opulence.
the grand
Yeah.
gala they're going to have, but not that they're renting out the space every
For
day
multiple things.
for multiple things. And you have this grandioso,
Chandelier. And they're
That's
beautiful. But with all
beautiful,
the stuff that
and it
hangs
just comes. You
down.
can touch it with your finger.
And that's why I'm like, I'm not even sure that would work for like a gala or something. If you can reach up and touch it with your hand, it's too
right.
short.
And-
or it was the wrong choice to put that in when you have low ceilings in a room already. So,
Yes.
all right, next question. How do I know what I should be speaking on? Well,
What are you the expert in?
right. Are
Are you the expert in something?
Here's
Yes.
the caveat, right? I'm gonna give a couple words of wisdom.
Tell
here
'em, baby.
and advice. So here we go.
I hold you back.
Okay.
Tell them.
If you're not sure what you should be speaking on, I question that you should be speaking at all. And the reason
Facts.
is because everyone nowadays wants to be a coach, a consultant, a speaker, an entrepreneur, right? All these things are glorified, and it's become a lot of people just doing it for the title, right?
Yes.
If you look
Yes.
around, it's like, I am a speaker, I am a coach, I am a consultant. Okay,
Yeah.
well, what are you a speaker of? What are you
Yes.
coaching on? And who are you consulting, right? And
Yes.
that's the challenge
Well,
is that...
nobody yet. Nobody yet.
Right.
Nobody yet.
So, and I understand everyone has to start somewhere, but
yes.
don't bullshit, okay?
No.
Don't just fluff and give a bunch of BS and just make up something. You need to find, what are you the expert in, like you were saying? What do people come to you for? What do people ask you questions on? What do people know you for? What are you the expert at? What are you the leader in, right? You need to do before you start going outward and projecting and speaking and doing all, you need to go inward. And we always call it take inventory. You need to take inventory. You need to have a brainstorming session and
Yes,
get it
and
all out of
write
your
it.
mind
Yep.
and onto paper. You need to sit there and figure out, what do you like? What do you not
Yes.
like? What
And
do
if
you
you
enjoy?
don't like that subject, you shouldn't be speaking
You
on
shouldn't be speaking on it.
it. Don't even think about it.
You shouldn't make an event around it.
No.
You should be able to talk about whatever you're going to talk about for hours on end. It should not be like pulling teeth to write
Yes.
down subjects on a piece of paper. Like right now, if I sat down, and we do this periodically, right? We sit down and say, okay, we're going to give ourselves 10, 15 minutes. We're going to set a timer, and we're going to write down all the ideas that we can think of topics that we can speak on. We can put together
Yep.
a short video on. We could do, a live on, or we could
Yes.
do one of our podcasts or YouTubes on, or we could, whatever the case may be, right? And you
have
should
to
be
get
able
those out.
to write and fill out your paper on and flip the page and keep going on whatever those topics are. So What you should be speaking on is what you're passionate about, what you're an expert on, what you're known for, and what you can speak intelligently on. And the
Yes.
other thing is,
And not somebody else's information.
no, and you don't need to know everything, because that's the other thing is a lot of times people are like, well, I'm the expert in nothing, so I'm going to do nothing because you got to give yourself some credit though too, right? And so be honest with yourself in what you're speaking on, what you want to talk about, what your subjects and topics are, but also don't hold yourself back because you're like, well, I don't know everything. There's other people who know more than I do. I don't really know enough about this. Okay, well, what do you know about? Because the other thing is you're not trying to get someone from A to Z, right? We're not trying to get them from the A to Z point. If you could help someone get from A to B and B to C, they would be at a level here and you're up here. If you can help them get to up here with whatever your knowledge and expertise is,
those steps.
great. Okay. So sometimes you got to give yourself more credit too because sometimes we can look at ourselves like, I don't know anything. I'm not the expert. I've never written a book. I'm not an author. I'm not a this. I'm not a that. Okay. Right. So you can beat yourself down. And a lot of times it's very easy for us to do that. But then there's the other side of it. It's like, okay, sometimes we give ourselves too much credit or we take too much creative authority on these things. So you've got to you've got to kind of look at that. So if you're asking your question as to what should I be speaking on because I'm just not sure, or I have a lot of things I could speak about, how do I pick? You need to pick the one or the topic that you're the most passionate about, that you know you have the most knowledge in, that you have actually done, and that you can teach or help or speak or encourage other people to do the same, right?
Correct.
So when we start working on what we're doing, we are talking about, events. Why?
Right.
Is
That's
it
what
because
we do.
we went to one event and we decided, hey, let's talk about events?
Hey, I saw that. I saw that. I'm an expert.
And the reason being is, and sometimes I kick myself. I don't kick him, but I kick my own self in the butt because sometimes I'm like, you know what? I dimmed my light for too long thinking, no, I'll just be the mom, or no, I'll just be the cheerleader for him, or no, I'll just do this over here, or you know what, when the kids are older, or when we're in a different location, or whatever, right? And so it's like, no, that's bullshit. No. It's time for me to step into my power. It's time for me to be who I am and give the information that I can give to help other people, right? And if I'm holding that on to myself and only helping our clients with that, or only, the only people that get the gift of what we already know is people who we work, who we work with right now. It's like, no. It's time to get out there more. And that's why this year we've made a push for ourselves. Like sometimes you got to get uncomfortable, right? And so you got to do uncomfortable things. You got to put yourself out there to grow and to change, but also to help other people along the way. That's what we're doing. And I encourage you to do the same thing. It's like, don't just go out there and speak on whatever. Speak on something that you're knowledgeable about, you're passionate about. People come to you and ask you questions. Give yourself credit. And then kind of look at yourself and say, okay, if I was to speak on this, how would I speak on this? What would I talk about? Where would I go? Am I going to have my own events? Am I going to speak on someone else's stage, right? Is this something I want to
get tired of doing that? That's when you should
have your own events.
Have your own.
So there's a lot that goes into what should you speak on. The first thing is, though, figure out, do that brain dump, right? And write all these things down and then start looking at those and say, okay, this is one, let's star that. Oh, this is another, let's star that. And because when you're writing down, you're not saying, well, this is dumb, I shouldn't talk about that. Or,
and that leads into the next question also.
Right. And I think we have time for one more question. So
that leads right into it.
Go ahead.
How do I get my team on the same page? By brain dumping all together as a whole. If they're in your office and working, you already have your team together. You can brain dump together. And I think you can on a subject, but to get it out there more and figure out what's good or what's bad subjects or whatever you want to do, they can help.
And I'm not exactly sure if you're talking about a team as far as having events or what exactly, but that's how I'm going to look at it. So how do you get your team on the same page? You have to paint a vision big enough that they can see it, right? You have to create something big that they can see themselves in, right? If you're just painting this vision and it's so small over here and you're the only one that knows anything about this, you're probably not going to have your team get behind you. But if you create this elaborate
Yes.
vision of, look, today we're here and this is where we're going. This is what we're
Then
going
the
to do.
steps, and then the steps we're going to take right after that
Yeah.
to get there.
This is how we're going to get there. And then you look at your team and you point out, what are the people on your team? What are their strengths, right?
Yes.
Where
and that's
are
what they're going to do.
as part of this bigger vision, right? Everyone has a component. No one person can do everything in it.
No, especially you.
You have to look at depending on how many team members you have, what are their strengths? What are they good at?
might
What do they
need
like?
a few more.
What do they enjoy, right? And so then you create this vision and then you, I don't like sell them on the vision. You paint the picture for them, right?
Yes.
You give them the idea.
Well, if they have that idea, then they can move forward
So they can
together.
see it in their mind, though. And then it's like, oh, well, okay, I see.
Yeah.
Let's also, they start rowing the boat together versus if you have,
Yeah, somebody rowing.
75% of the people are
Yeah.
rowing forward
And
and
then
25%
you'll
are
go in
rowing
circles.
back.
Yeah.
You're just
Going in a
you're
circle.
spinning your wheels, right? So it's like, you want to paint and not everybody is going to always be able to continue on the team, right? We were talking about in the beginning.
that's
Some people
okay.
are there for a season. That's all
That's
right,
okay.
right? But
then that next person is going to be trained better, and they're going to
And
also,
you're also going to be, when you bring on new people onto your team, you're going to know the vision. You're going to sell them on the
Right.
vision. You're going
you're going to know right away.
create that for them. Are they the right fit for that or
Yes.
not? Right.
Right.
So really,
They're going to be in that right slot.
it's about getting everyone on the same page, but it's up to you as the leader, right? To
Yep.
be able to know the vision and have the vision and paint the vision big enough that they can see themselves inside of that and
Yes.
where they can be.
Yes.
All right.
Wonderful.
Well, that was a lot.
Yes.
So let's cheers for that.
Cheers. Woo.
And thank you guys for jumping on
Thanks
here
so much.
and joining us today for another Coffee Conversations and Q&A. And like we said, we will be doing this weekly. If you're looking for a foamer frother, they're everywhere. You can look on
Yes.
Amazon or other stores.
Pop in, pop out.
It's really simple. You just put on the little charger and
Yep.
it makes hot or cold. So if you're looking for that, I don't have a link, but just search for coffee
Frother.
frother. And
Yes.
there's the little handheld ones. They don't do the same as
No.
what this one does. We have
All
that
of
for
our
other things.
family, for gifts, everybody got one.
We got one for everybody because that's how much we like it. So
Yep.
anyways, thanks again for joining us, and we look forward to talking to you guys again soon.
Mwah.
Have an awesome day.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.